All right, let's talk about storing frames and supers for winter. Okay, now this is a tough one because when I first started beekeeping, I wasn't sure, what do you do with when you harvest your honey super frames, whether they're deeps or mediums, and you extract all the honey out, and maybe you set them out in the yard or or back on the hive for the bees to clean out the wet super. But you're left with these boxes that you want to store and use again next spring, but you have all of fall and all of winter and big part of the late winter and early spring to store. And people make a lot of mistakes when storing frames. Now, how do I know the proper way to store frames and honey supers in the fall and winter and early spring? Is because I made most of those mistakes myself, not taking care of all of those boxes and frames correctly. So let's get into tonight's teaching and talk about it. First of all, I want to give you a warning. Don't let your guard down, because when you harvest, those of you that are new to beekeeping and you finally got some honey, maybe a frame or 2 or 10 that you want to harvest, be on red alert, because anytime during a dearth or when the nectar flow kind of slows down, if you're doing a harvest outdoors, maybe even taking your honey supers off, be aware that you need to be in a building to harvest the honey, like extract it. You can harvest it. You got to harvest it outdoors, harvest it off the hive, but you got to be indoors with all the doors shut, garage door down, no windows open, no bees can come in, because once you start extracting, cutting your cappings off your honey super frames, it's going to be a risk of your bees coming in and being a part of that. You don't want your bees in there. Okay. So anytime you're dealing with these frames, let's get them in a safe place where bees can't get to them. Okay. Let's say you did all that properly and, you extracted honey and you put your supers back on, either to let them put more in if you've got a nectar flow still going on, or maybe to clean them up, back on the hive to dry them out, get the little last remaining wet supers dried out a little bit. Or maybe your state allows you to put them out in the yard somewhere. Please put them really far away from your hive, maybe 100 or 200 yards out or something crazy, because, well, maybe not that far, but you don't want bees to rob your bees because they're being attracted to those supers out there. So put them far away from your hive. But now let's talk about storing them. How do we store them? Well, we have to store them in a place where it is free from bugs. And that means ants, anything like ants, moths are a big problem. A lot of people will take honey supers and they'll store them in a shed or a building somewhere. But when you go in and out, these moths, the greater wax moths, will actually sneak in. They'll fly in when the doors are open. How about this? Those of you that live out in the country, probably city folks too, but man, out here in the country, when we go in and out of our doors at night, our doors are lined with moths because they're attracted to the light that the glass doors. And so the moths are waiting, and you open a door, they fly in. So you got to find a place where there's not any bugs, because a wax moth, listen, will destroy your stored frames and supers during fall, during winter. They'll just go through it. They'll live off everything in there, and they'll eat everything up and destroy your frames and foundation. So you got to put it in a place where it's bug free. And that includes even I'm in this big room here where it's climate controlled. There's supers over there being stored. And what happens, it's an old concrete slab, probably poured in the 60s. And it's occasionally has some cracks in it. Ants, that's right. Ants will come up through the cracks in the wintertime and go into those supers. I've got an ant guy now, so he's good about keeping ants out of this building. But so don't think just because you got a concrete floor, bugs won't find their way in, even in the wintertime. Now let's talk about humidity. Humidity is an enemy of your stored frames and your super boxes that you harvested, and now you want to store that inside for the winter so you can use them again next year. Humidity can actually cause a lot of molding and mildew to occur. So you want to keep them in a very dry place. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Because if they get a lot of humidity on them and you got some bee bread or get some pollen in there, it's going to get moldy. How many of you have seen this kind of interesting mildew and mold that will grow on these frames of comb frames of honey? So be careful. You can really win the battle if you keep the humidity down. And finally, you got to think about the pest, like mice, especially. Mice will love to come in and find a way in, and they'll get into your stored honey supers and eat them up while you're not looking. So whatever pest can make their way in, be careful of that. Now, keep them in a dry room. That really works well for me. This room right now has a humidity level, I can barely see it from here, 36% humidity. So it's a very dry room. And that keeps everything under control. It keeps stored honey supers dry. They're not going to mold at that temperature, mildew and all that. I just bought they're not cheap, but I bought a small dehumidifier. I think it was under $300, and it keeps this large, very large room dehumidified. I had to run a hose out through the wall because it just pulls humidity out like crazy in the summer. So keep your room dry if you can do that. Maybe you already have a dry room. I jokingly say if you don't have a dry room anywhere, lay some cardboard down and store your honey supers in your bedroom. Because most people have a comfortable bedroom where you sleep, but that's kind of a joke, but could really work if your significant other is okay with that. Do not place them in a bag. Now, I think a lot of people think this is something you should do, and I don't agree with that because the bag will hold moisture in there. I have seen it happen. And sometimes if you don't freeze your frames first, you can have wax moth eggs, even larvae in there, even sealed off in a bag. Those wax moths will destroy those frames, even sealed off in a bag, because there's enough air in there they can live and do their nasty work. Basements are usually too humid, and unless you do have a dehumidifier down there. My basement's too humid. I wouldn't put it in my basement. Much too humid. So you got to keep it in a dry place. Now let's talk about stacking. I'm a pro at stacking honey supers. What I do is I stagger or I cross stack for ventilation. So, you put one this way, put the other one this way, just stack them so that air can circulate through all of those stacked honey supers, however many you have. Air circulations will cut down greatly on wax moths and other things, and it keeps it dry, and that's going to be great. Also, if you have a small fan, and you do have a very dry room, you can keep them in. Boy, turn that fan on, circulate some air. Doesn't have to be a big fan, but a small fan, move some air around that. Now, you can use different types of chemicals. One that comes to mind, it has many names, but it's pyridichlorobenzene, benzenate. Those are like crystals or things that you can put on newspaper and put them in between stored supers and all, but it doesn't get rid of the eggs that might be in the comb or something. But the trick to this is, if you have this ability to do this, please freeze all of your frames and your supers in a freezer for a couple of days before you store them. That's going to kill all of the yuckies, insects and pests that are in those frames before you store them. That's going to get you off to a much better start. Okay, freeze them. Now you may be saying, David, I don't have a freezer that big. I don't know what to do. Hey, call around, ask some friends, see if anybody has a big freezer. A lot of people have freezers they don't use anymore, big chest freezers in their basement, and talk to them, see if you can bring a super by and store it for a couple of days, and that will just kill all stages of wax moth. That's really what we're trying to avoid. So these are some tips on, you guys are harvesting. Good job. You got some honey. And now you're trying to figure out, well, how do I store all of these supers? One last tip, you can actually store them outdoors in the wintertime if you live like where I do, where it's beyond freezing outside. It's just so cold. I have many years, I've put a upside down top cover, and then I stack all my supers in there. I don't cross check. I don't cross stack. I stack them on top of each other, maybe about 7 foot tall. And then I put a top cover on top of that, because what happens, we get so cold in the wintertime here, and it stays cold and it's freezing all winter long. So we can keep these supers outdoors, but you just got to remember, when spring rolls around, try to do something with them. Don't let them sit out there during the spring, or critters and mice and yellow jackets and everybody will be in there, even small hay beetle again there. So be careful about, you can get by storing them in the winter time outdoors, but don't leave them out there if it starts to warm up a little bit. All right. That's a good teaching on what to do with your honey supers and how to store them. I hope you enjoyed that. And what we'll do now is get into some questions and answers. Let me check my checklist here. All right. I think I've gone through everything. That's good. So I'm here to answer your questions, and I really do appreciate you guys putting your trust in me to help guide you in your beekeeping journey. But let me clarify before we get started tonight. I don't claim to be a know-it-all when it comes to beekeeping. I try to keep it simple. I'm not going to hit you with complicated scientific terminology that nobody else benefits from sometimes. And my way is not the highway. I respect whatever way you want to keep bees. I don't think you have to do it my way at all. I'm different in some areas than some people are. Hey, it's up to you, okay? So just want you to feel free to share what's on your mind. Well, hello, Ed. I have a hive abscond. What do I do with all the empty frames that are filled with pollen? Fred, Ed, you can actually do exactly what I said. Doesn't hurt a thing. Go ahead and freeze them. Yeah, put them in the freezer for a couple of days if you have that space. You can keep them in the freezer, and this goes for your honey supers. If you have the space, keep them frozen until you need them next year. Now, if you don't have the space to keep them in there, you can take them out and store them, just like I said, in a dry room somewhere. Good question. Hey, Mark. Has anyone ever done a trap out to retrieve bees from a chimney? I spent 6 or 8 years removing bees from homes, industry, buildings, and I did my fair share of chimneys. Chimneys was the thing I hated to do the most. Now, a lot of people think that bees are going to be inside the smoke area where the smoke exhausts out of the chimney. Usually they're not. They're alongside of a gap or hole in the chimney structure, and it is hard to trap them out. Sometimes you're successful. You sometimes have to remove a lot of bricks, and if you're not good at that, you'll have to have a mason come back and repair that. Trapping them out, like drawing them out with, the little funnel, a screen funnel where the foragers don't go back in, everybody leaves, and you hope to draw them out that way. Basically, all you're doing is, killing off the colony because they can't bring resources in anymore. I've never had that work very well for me. So I think all removals really need to be a thorough go in, take all the comb out, take all the bees out, and put the bees in a colony in a hive somewhere, and put the house back together and pack it full of insulation. I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah. Thank you for your super sticker tonight, everybody. Well, hi, Jessica. If you want to use the frame queen cage for a brood break, is it better to put her on a full frame or an empty one she can lay in? You're gonna use that for a brood break. About 7 days is what I recommend. And so I think it'd probably benefit to have it already full. It would be less eggs she's laying, and of course, a lot of mites are going to be coming out of that, capped over pupae when they emerge. But I don't think it matters a whole lot. It's going to be a coin toss. It really is. Thank you for your super sticker. Hey, Wayne. Hello, David from East Texas. How long should I leave the robber screen on my hive? Now, that's a big question. That gets asked at every live stream and on every YouTube comment. How long should I leave it on? The simple answer of that, leave it on until the robbing stops. The threat of robbing is over. I don't know how else to say it. When is that? It's going to be according to your area, your nectar flow, your temperatures. Ginger, thank you for your super sticker, and thank you for the comment on the great content. I appreciate the donations tonight. For a mite test, if brood is in upper deep, do I need to also sample the lower deep? No, you do not. So think of it this way. We're trying to get the bees that are nursing or in the area where mites are. So mites are going to be in the area where they're about ready to cap over the larvae. And that sometimes is going to be nurse bees, young bees. But if you want to use open brood or cap brood, it doesn't matter which box you take it out of. Hello, Tom. Thank you for your donation tonight. Tom says, thank you, David and Sheri, for all you've done to help everyone keep bees. Between the video courses, mentoring program, and live streams, you've helped me a lot. But the coffee time segments are the best. So a lot of you tell me that everywhere I go. There people say, I love the coffee time. Coffee time is when I talk about life and encourage you principles to live by. There's Cody. I need suggestions on wintering a nuke. I thought about putting it in a pole barn to overwinter. Has anyone else done this? Southeast Missouri. Okay, so I have overwintered a few nukes in my day. It's not my something that complements what I do in the spring, so I don't always do that. But putting them in a barn like that, sheltering them from the cold might be a good thing to do. Be careful putting bees in a barn or a building, because if it warms up and they want to fly and they can't get out of that building, they'll go to the lightest, brightest part, like a window, and they'll all die trying to get out. So it's a little bit tougher to do that. You can also put them on top of a deep double screen board, get some heat going through there, something like that. I've done that before, and so you can always tinker around, but you got to kind of be really good at beekeeping to make something happen like that. It's a little bit iffy if you don't do it right. My hive consumes gallons of sugar water, but has no stores. This is a nuke size, West Virginia. Well, that is really odd. All right, let's check. Let's make sure it's not leaking, dripping down. Here's how we're going to check. We're going to take a piece of dry cardboard, and we're going to slide it underneath your stand or underneath the nuke or something. And we're going to see if we have liquid leaking out. That sounds like a lot. Are they being robbed? Are there robber bees just going in and out like crazy, and you think it's your bees and they're robbing it? So let's eliminate those two things. And then if those aren't the case, wow, your bees are starving to death. None of that makes sense. They should be storing some of that. Man, that's a lot. Hey, David, I had 2 weak hives, joined them with newspaper. This was about 2 weeks ago. Checked them today, and they don't seem much better in North Nevada. Any ideas? So you combine 2 weak hives. Yeah, normally when we combine hives, we combine a weak hive to a very strong hive by putting the weak hive on top. Combining 2 weak hives, we have to make sure they're not weak because of queen issue or because of diseases. And so if they're having virus loads from mites, and one of them does, and if you combine them, the viruses just run rampant through both of them. So lots to think about there. Perhaps something like that's going on. Oh, hey, Ryan, in your video you dropped on Monday, you alcohol washed 2 hives and had 0 mites in each. Did you use green drone comb, and did you have brood breaks to achieve those levels? Thanks. Ryan, let me check. Let me think. Okay. On the first one that I did, which is the package B that I installed, April the 29th, I did a green drone comb about a month ago. Yes. I pulled it a month ago. I froze it, and I never put it back on. So I did do 1 green drone comb about a month ago. That's the only thing. No, I did not. Otherwise, I did not treat that hive. I didn't do anything else to it. I did not do a break or anything like that. The other hive, no, I've not done any treatments. I just started doing salicylic acid treatment, vaporizing. I haven't done any treatments up until this point. So no, there was no treatments on that hive either. That's a split that I made. Is a gigantic hive. 0 mites is something that I was happy about too. Absolutely. What would cause bees to group on the ground in a small cluster 15 or 20 feet in front of the hive? Didn't appear to be fighting. It's a queen in there. It is a queen. It's a virgin queen or a mated queen that's in that group of bees. Put your gloves on, move them around, get a stick, move them around, find the queen, do something with her. Absolutely. See that often in the mating yards. Just didn't make it back in the front door or something. A hive with 2 deeps. Frames were covered with bees, smaller than normal. A lot of cat brood on half the frames. Some newly laid eggs, no pollen or honey, none. How can that happen? Yeah, people don't realize that bees consume an enormous amount of food. I actually documented that and shared it at EAS a couple of weeks ago, how much pollen and honey bees actually consume per week. It's amazing. So they're they need a lot of food. You need to feed them. Something is happening there. Feed those bees. Maybe there's a dearth in your area. You need to sit up straighter, like my mom told me. I'm slouching. I'm tall. I slouch. So I can hear people that's shorter than me, I guess. David, when should I harvest my honey? So I only need to harvest once. I'm here in Minnesota. Oh, that's really entirely up to you. If you harvest usually when all of the frames are capped over. So once it's capped over, they can't do any more, right? They can't add any more. Now you can wait and take that off later. But if there's some frames that aren't capped over yet, you want to leave those on there and let them see if they can cap them over. Yeah, it's hard for bees to cap over honey supers in this hot weather. That's for sure, especially when it's humid outside. Indeed. All right. See how that comment has a D? That helps me know that comment is for me and not someone you're just talking to in the chat. It's fine that you guys answer each other's questions, but I'm just trying to help answer the ones directed to me. So you can put a D in front of it. First time removing a hive from a building wall. Heat made the comb and honey come out pretty messy. Any tips concerning harvesting honey from comb too damaged to try putting in frames? Okay. Was that heat that made the comb do that? Or was it small hive beetle? So sometimes small hive beetle will slime a hive like that, especially if the bees abandon it, and it will just literally drip out of a wall like that. Okay, let's say that it wasn't small hive beetle. Putting comb in frames, it can be done. A lot of people use rubber bands, paper strings, and they have all these fishing wires. Everybody has all these ways. That's the best way in the world to do it. Anytime I mention one way, somebody will tell me, oh, there's a better way. There's always a better way to do stuff. So it's going to be tough, and it is just messy, especially if it's brood frames and you're slicing through cap pupae and larvae. Is gooey and gross. I just don't like doing it anymore for that reason. So doing it the way you're doing it, it's not going to be any easier. It's messy. Yeah. From a split earlier this year, twice now I've found the queen on top of a frame. Is that something to worry about? Otherwise, hive seems good. It's a little odd. She does have to travel from the bottom box up to the top box. And the only way to get there is to walk on the bottom of one frame and kind of, jump up to the next one. So I've seen her on the very top of the box. Sometimes I've found her on the top cover. That scares me to death. When I open a hive, I look for a small hive beetle on my top cover, and lo and behold, I see my queen up there. I'm like, would you mind going back down and getting back to work? Why are you up here loafing off? I wouldn't be worried about it. Hey, Charlie, caught a swarm on Sunday. Yeah, swarm's going to continue to happen even though it's fall or late summer, getting close to fall. We're 39 days from fall, by the way. It filled in 2 deep boxes. Oh, good. So wait a minute. You caught it? Oh, you mean the numbers of bees. Okay. I checked my hives. It's not one of my hives caught my eye. Was it has 2 virgin queens? So it's just I see, like 2 swarms came together. That I've seen that sometimes in bee yards, big bee yards where there's 1,000 colonies. I'll see a bunch of them swarm and get together. Let's see. So it could be a hive that absconded from somewhere else and they're trying to find a home. That's a lot of bees to fill up 2 boxes. That can't be a swarm. I mean, it could be, but a swarm is about half of a colony. So that colony before it swarmed would equal 4 deep boxes. I guess it could have swarmed out of a big empty tree or something. Back in the 70s and 80s, a night drive resulted in gobs of dead bugs on the front of a car. Now it's like there are no bugs. Are insects in general endangered more than we realize? That's a good question, Tom. I think it has a lot to do with an area. I'm going to agree with you. I think there are less bugs on the front of my cars now. Now, I live in Illinois where farmers spray a lot of things on their fields and they cut down a lot of the natural habitat and foraging flower sources and all for bugs in general. So yes, the more we industrialize and pave everything, concrete, subdivisions, mow our grasses, we're eliminating bugs. They don't have a place to live anymore. That's sad. I think that's part of it. Absolutely. Wow. How long should a swarm trap be left up? All year or a specific time frame? Thanks so much. You know what? It depends on what could get in there. Are you guys good about putting a mouse guard on those? You can put like some screen wire, 1/4 inch. You got to let bees go in. But if you got to keep birds out, you got to keep things out of there. You got to close it off. So it's going to be weathered. A lot of you don't paint. I would never paint a swarm trap, right? So the weather is going to deteriorate it. I think it's better to bring it in, but it's not going to hurt to leave it out there as long as you know that it's going to be weathered and might get some other things in there during the winter time. One more question, then we're going to take more questions, but we're going to have a break first and we're going to do the spin the wheel. Moving 2 new hives across the yard, 2 acres. Wait till fall, or it's now better. Port Orchard, Washington, thanks. Going to be better to do that in the winter time, if you can do it, because the bees aren't foraging. You don't have to worry about losing your foragers back and all that. So I would wait until the bees are no longer foraging. All right, let's have some fun spinning the wheel today. Let's get it in the scene here with me. A lot of things that can happen where this lands. Going to be fun. Nobody knows, but let's see who's going to win something or be able to do something. If it lands on personal, you get to ask me, Sheri, Robbie, or Jessica a personal question unrelated to beekeeping. All right. Oh, it did land on personal. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's see. So now that it landed on personal, we've got to have somebody chosen out of the those that are here. We're going to set up the so you have to type if you want to ask us a personal question. If you don't want to do this, don't do this. Don't put your name in there. But we're going to select one of you. You have to do #personal if you'd like to ask one of us a personal question. We're not going to bring you online. You won't be live. It'll be a written question in the comments, and our team, I'll find it. So whoever wins, you're just going to write a personal question to one of us. We reserve the right not to answer it. I mean, some things are just too personal. But #personal is what you would put if you want to ask me, Jessica, or Robbie a personal question tonight. I see that Robbie is combing his hair, putting his makeup on in case he's going to be selected tonight. All right, a couple of more questions while we're gathering some responses for those of you that want to ask us a personal question. Yeah, you never know what people are really like. You see them from the beekeeping perspective, but what kind of things are we like behind the scenes of beekeeping? All right, let me have a couple more. Oh, that's going to be tough for you guys, isn't it? But let me have a couple more questions while we're gathering these comments up. The reason why it's hard on my team is because the chat starts going really fast now when you start putting that in there. But that's fine. They're good. I harvested honey and pulled my supers off. Should I put them back on when I use Formic Pro for extra space or ventilation? No, I wouldn't worry about that. No, I would just use Formic Pro as the label requires it. You don't have to put those back on at all. I still have Dutch clover in my area in Indiana. Do you really? You must. Ooh, that's southern Indiana, must be northern Indiana. But the patches are getting smaller. Is the clover still producing nectar as long as they're blooming? Bees seem to be really active between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Yeah, I think it's, unless it's dried out or something, I think there's plenty of nectar to be had if those flowers are blooming. That's what flowers do. I think that's fine. Yeah. All right. One more question, and then we'll see who's going to win the personal question to ask one of us. Bruce, I'm about to be gone for a week. I decided to feed and put up robber screens on 2 colonies, newbie this year. Welcome to beekeeping. Always great to see a new beekeeper. One has a super, one just has 2 deeps, right approach, southern Indiana. Let's see, you're going to be gone. Decided to put your feeders on. Not sure how you're feeding them. Hopefully you're not using an entrance feeder. Hope you're feeding them from the top. Let's assume that you are. Yeah, if you're doing all of that, got your robber screens on there, going to be gone for a week, you should be good. I think that's going to be fine. Thank you for that super sticker tonight. Okay, Robbie, let's see. Nope, that's not it. Let me move that out of the way. You got it? Okay. All right, there we go. Who is going to win a chance to ask one of us a personal question? Let's see who that's going to be. It's embarrassing. Someone's going to win a chance to ask one of us a personal question. Let's see who it is. It's Cindy. All right, Cindy, you get to ask us a personal question. So Cindy, just leave a comment. Say this question is for whoever, and then you can ask away. And they'll do their best to either answer it or answer it like a politician and skirt the issue terribly. That's what I'm getting ready to do. I don't like people knowing my personal life, I guess. I'm kind of embarrassed. Says the guy that's been on YouTube since 2008 with 1,000 videos. Yeah, I know, but it's still embarrassing. Oh, shoot. All right, they're watching for you, Cindy. They're watching the chat for you to leave your question. So type away, put down who you want to answer, who do you want to ask a question, and then it'll be great. Hello, Cindy. Put your question in, Cindy. All right, well, some more questions while we're waiting. So let's say there was an endless supply of sugar water. How long would it take to get to their winter weight? So a winter weight is usually like here in Illinois, you want them to be about 70 pounds. And so you're just going to feed endlessly. It would probably take not that long, actually. I remember specifically feeding my bees way back 10, 20 years ago. And I raised them about 35 pounds by feeding them in about, I think it was a little bit around 2 weeks. So about a month, you could probably get them up to 40 pounds. Oh, Cindy, there you are. This question is for David. I don't mind being called Dave, but for clarification, I like being called David. No offense, though. Have you and your wife always lived in Illinois? Good question. So my wife Sheri was born in Paris, Illinois, and grew up in Paris, Illinois. I was born in Arkansas. I moved when I was very young to Memphis, Tennessee, lived in Memphis until I was 11 years old. And my dad got transferred with the company he was with to Paris, Illinois when I was 11 years old. And 5 years later, I met my wife in Paris, Illinois. And from then on, we've lived in a lot of places. I think after we got married, I don't know, Sheri, maybe 5 different states or something like that, 3 to 5 different states. Yeah, we've kind of been in different places. So, yeah, that's a good question, Cindy. It was safe and easy to answer. All right. Do you want to spin the wheel one more time? Let's do it one more time. If it lands on personal, we'll skip that. Goodness. All right. Thank you guys for donating to the live stream tonight. We love to have giveaways. I've got another giveaway coming up, so don't go anywhere. Oh, it landed on B Team 6. What this means is one of you will get to be a part of my B Team 6 mentoring program for a month, a free month of B Team 6. That'd be great. You can email me questions. You can get our information that we send to our mentees. So what you're going to do is leave hashtag Team6. See it down there, TEAM6. If you want to be a part of the mentorship program for a free month, and we're not going to charge you at the end of that month, you just fall off. But for a month, you'll enjoy it. We have a lot of people that are part of B Team 6, actually. You can go on my website. You can type in mentorship program. We've done this for about 8 years. And so B Team 6, yeah, that's a fun one. Let's see. I think I was going to say something else. But anyway, welcome to everybody. Thanks for being here. Be sure and subscribe. Give a thumbs up. This is a live stream. I am live right now, unless you're watching the replay. And I'm not live then. All right, I got my other giveaway coming up here. All right, so you'll leave hashtag Team6 if you want to win the B Team 6 free month. Why is it when we count mites, we don't consider all of the mites that are in the spaces where baby drones are? It seems there's a lot more there that we don't count, but they're there. Thanks, Anne. Anne, that is a very good question, and we have considered that. That's why we have come up with the numbers that we have. We're taking in consideration the number of mites in the hive altogether. So this number that we use, 2 to 3 mites per 100, it's kind of like a ratio that considers the level of infestation, including those below the caps. Yeah, it does. It's a good question. And they're not only on the drones, they're also on the workers as well. Dave, 2 deep hive. Okay, a hive with 2 deeps. Loads of bees. 50% of the frames have cap brood. That's amazing. No pollen and honey at all. Newly laid eggs present. What could have happened? Bees don't seem to be bringing in resources. Bees look small. I think I just answered that, but some variation of that. But here's the deal. They're running out of food. This is called protein deprivation. I roam the country at conferences speaking about this very same thing. I have videos. I show how this happens. That's why I invented my feeding system right here. We're going to give this away in just a minute. But that's to save these bees like you're having in your hive. They don't have pollen. They don't have honey coming in. They're eating all their resources, trying to take care of the brood and all. Yep, that's what's happening. All right, Robbie, let's see who's going to win a free month of B Team 6. This is exciting. All right. Let's see who will win. If the same person wins again, we'll have to skip you. We can't give you 2 giveaways in one night. I don't remember who that was. Cindy. Well, that's the same Cindy that, okay, we'll go with Cindy. Cindy's the winner. All right, congratulations. All right, Cindy, you win a free month of B Team 6. Email us at bigsquadwinner@gmail.com, and we'll be sure and add you to B Team 6. All right, wonderful. All right, so let's give away one more giveaway, and we're going to be giving away this feeder that you've seen me put it on hives. It comes with the lids for your smallmouth jars. You can use any jars you want to, any if you got a gallon one that's small or a half gallon or a pint, whatever, you can use any jar and feed your bees 1-to-1. I have such fun feeding my bees this time of the year when the dearth happens, and boy, my bees are not really doing much at all. They're going out in the morning, getting some ragweed pollen. After that, they're not doing much. So they need a feeder. So if you'd like to win, be sure. And, Cindy wants to, or can you say hi to my Uncle Don? All right, there you go. Hello, Uncle Don. Is that for me? Uncle Don. Thanks for watching the live stream, Uncle Don. Appreciate you being here. All right. I'm happy to do stuff like that. Yeah. Hashtag feeder. No advantage to entering multiple hashtags. It's enter your name to win my feeder. All right. I used your pollen mixture with the other 2 liquid supplements that came in the kit. They were slow at first to take it. Now they're going through 2 jars every 2.5 days. I love it. All right. Oh, every 2.5 days. Okay, got it. So that's good. I appreciate the feeding system and all that's working good for you and keeping your bees fed well. Yeah. What happens this time of the year? Bees have big, brood. They're laying a lot of eggs, and all at once the nectar flow of the dearth hits them. They can't take care of anything. How long does it take for robbing bees to clear out a hive from all of its honey? Thank you, Ann in Iowa. Oh, Ann, that is so sad. I want to say 30 minutes they can empty out an entire capped over 10 frame honey super. I know that because I have seen it happen. And it's like a war zone. It is unbelievable. And you're just left with wax flakes at on the bottom screen. They just rip through it. It is incredible. Wow. Yeah. Hey, Jennifer. When's the latest I should keep super on if they aren't drawing it out in August in Wisconsin? I'm speaking in Wisconsin. Make a note of that in February. Looking forward to that. I would say you're going to have to know the nectar availability in your area. And if the bees just aren't bringing nectar in or pollen in, they're not really making a good go at it. They're not leaving the hive that much. Probably need to pull it off. They're probably not going to do it. But keep it handy. You could have a fall flow or something. You could have some goldenrod or something like that. All right. Why do larger operations reduce their hives down to nooks in August? A lot of times beekeepers want to put the larger, beekeepers want to keep their hives very small. Overwintering, they put them in single deep sometimes. They store them in buildings. They want to kind of make them go into a very, I don't want to say hibernation, but a very quiet time when the bees are kept at 35 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, small clusters, get them through the winter that way. I need a lot of bees coming out of winter. I like bees. I like a lot of bees in coming out of winter. Okay, Robbie, let's see who is going to be able to win the feeder tonight. All right. Going to have the feeder shipped to you. If you live outside the 48 states, lower 48s, we'll have to send you something else. We can't ship this beyond the lower 48s. Oh, Leah. Might be an airplane pilot. Leah won. Thank you for winning. Yeah, let us know if you need an 8 frame or a 10 frame, Leah. We have both, and you may have a 10 frame hive. That means it has 10 frames in it, or it may have 8 frames. We sell both of those. So let us know which one is shipped to you, and email us at beaksquadwinter@gmail.com. Wow, it's a busy night tonight. I don't know if I'm taking care of everything. Am I? All right. Awesome. I want to remind you guys that I'll be speaking in November in Pennsylvania. So it's a 2025 fall conference membership meeting. All the information is on their website. And the website is listed right there. For those of you that are near Pennsylvania area, where does it say? It's at State College, Pennsylvania. Going to be at a big Ramada Hotel and Convention Center there. You can see other speakers that'll be there as well, I think. So we'd love for you to join me there. I always like seeing people that watch me on YouTube. I love seeing you at conferences. And yes, I look taller in real life. I'll warn you now. I'm much taller than it looks like. See how that camera is pointing down to me? It makes you look taller than me. I assure you, I am taller than probably 95% of you. All right. Let's take 1 or 2 more questions tonight. Good questions and good crowd tonight. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. Would bees swarm in August? Yes, and yes, very much so. Bees don't really know winter's coming. They're just doing their thing, getting full, want to swarm, especially when there's a nectar flow. Came home from work and saw a lot of bees coming out from a large hive with 2 supers on, but it looked like many of them in orientation flight. Okay, That is an orientation flight. It happens around 3 o'clock in the afternoon or sometime in the afternoon. And the difference between a swarm doing their thing and an orientation flight or a play flight doing their thing, in a play flight, orientation flight, more bees are facing the hive than facing away from it. Just look, you'll see a lot of bees facing the hive. And I've made videos about that. Yeah, really have. Harvested honey into 5-gallon buckets, even buckets from fully capped frames, testing at 19.5 moisture. Can I dry that down to 18.5 in the buckets with a dehumidifier in my basement? Many of us talk about that. 19.5 isn't bad. And a lot of times what people will do is they'll set up and let it drain slowly from one bucket into another bucket. And what you're doing, you're pulling the moisture out of the honey that's flowing. It's a smaller stream flowing out. It's hard because if you just have a bucket that's open, you're only taking moisture out of the very top surface. And all the honey below that doesn't quite work that way. Does that make sense? Create some way for it. You can have it flow through a plastic screen, cut up a plastic queen excluder. I'm just getting all these great ideas. That's what it means by being I teach a lot and speak a lot on being a creative thinker in beekeeping. I would take a plastic queen excluder, put it into the 5-gallon bucket so it sticks up pretty high. And I would make a frame to hold the next bucket, turn the spigot, let it flow down all those little grates in that queen excluder material in a really dehumidified room with a fan blowing. Wow, that works good. Somebody should sell that. That'd be at the next vendor spot, the next conference I speak at. Somebody be selling those. Oh, shoot. All right. Hello, David. I want to turn my 180. I want to turn my hive 180 degrees. Can I just spin them or do I need something else? Spin it about 6 inches a day. That should work really good. Not bad at all. Thank you for your donation. Use your method of doing a small move by putting a large sheet of cardboard in front of the entrance. Worked like a charm. Thank you for your guidance and hard work. Isn't that crazy? I couldn't do a cardboard in Illinois. It's too windy. But yeah, that's great. Talking about moving a hive, not losing foragers by putting something in front of it. Folks, we are out of time. I know you'd love to keep going. I love for you to be here. I was taught at an early age it's always better to quit with people wanting more than keep going with people wanting to quit. So this is the time to say thank you guys for so much. Listen, I think it's cool that you're here tonight. You got a friend in me. We're all friends. We hang out together. All the people in the chat, we all kind of know each other. We have new people come in tonight. Thank you all so much. We had a big crowd. I want you to know that I really respect your work that you're doing in bees, and you're the hero. I'm not the hero. I'm working. I'm making videos to help you out. You're the hero. I'm supporting you in your endeavors. I'm working hard for you guys, okay? I make videos. I make live streams. I answer questions like tonight. This is on Facebook and on YouTube. And so if you're watching from Facebook and you don't know I have a YouTube channel, go to YouTube and type David Burns Beekeeping. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. It has been so great. I want to thank Robbie and Sheri and Jessica. Great job tonight making it all happen. Love you to the moon and back. I'll see you in the next video.